Live streaming. Hello to all of you who are joining us via live stream, and thank you to everyone who joined us in the meeting here. This is one of our Thursday Zoom meetups of the vidwheel Creator Network, and they're the public-facing part of this group. What is the VCN, or vidwheel Creator Network? It's a group that brings together solopreneurs who aspire to take our businesses to the next level with self-produced video. We draw on the experience of the community and industry experts like we have with us here today to guide you through the process of making video, making it work for your business, giving you better reach, efficiency, and growth within your business. If you find that intriguing and you're a doer and action-oriented person, join us for one of our next events. It's Video Podcast Month, and we have another Zoom meetup coming on that same subject 2 weeks from today. And it actually features myself doing a workshop where I present Video Podcast, the everlasting gobstopper of content. I'll show you step by step how you can easily and efficiently break down a video podcast episode to create content that lasts. And you can find that at events.vidwheel.com. That link is in the description of this live stream. I'll also pop it in the chat here. So with that, let's get on to the main event. Today, we've got podcaster, entrepreneur, he's speaking all over the country recently, S.A Grant. And S.A Grant's going to present 13 reasons why a video podcast is important to your content strategy. S.A, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I definitely appreciate. So first and foremost, the 13 things, right? It was kind of like I was diving into the situation and I was trying to figure out like all the variables to give you the best value, moving my foot forward. So unfortunately, I couldn't find 13. I ended up finding 113. So today I'm going to try to squeeze in 113 of these things really quickly. So I'm gonna break it down to like a really quick science. So I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna jump right into this presentation. All right. All right, you should be able to see my screen okay. You should be able to see a few dots. Now you can kind of see, right? We're talking about the primary thing in the middle is the video. And I want you to kind of think of this, and I'm doing it in an org chart format so you can kind of visualize, because again, you may not want to do all these things. I just broke it down to, it's way past 113. Honestly, it's probably like 130 something variables to this. So you have audio, you have an RSS feed, you have clips, you have transcriptions, you have live streams, and then you have like general bonuses. So I'm going to start with a general bonus first. So obviously you have engagement, and that's something that if you're doing anything online, social media wise, if you're doing video, you're doing audio, you're doing any content, you want to be able to have that content to be engaged. So that's one of the benefits for doing video. In addition to that, it's shareability. Much like we're doing a live stream right now, it's video format. Anyone that's watching it can then share this content. Another great benefit of video is the analytical data, right? If you're using YouTube to do these lives, or if you're using any other format, again, there'll be some analytical data behind the scenes to tell you, hey, somebody's watched 5 seconds, somebody's watched 30 seconds, somebody's watched halfway through, somebody watched till the end. That is very primary information, so that way you can kind of figure out, is your content being used? Is your content valuable? And you can make tweaks and make efforts to make that content better moving forward. Monetization, obviously, if you're familiar with YouTube's partner program, the conversion points of having someone watch your video and watch ads to get paid, that's a hell of a valuable thing and a valuable ad as well. And then last but not least is lead magnets. So again, you can kind of take this video and say, hey, if you want to get access to this video that we're doing right now, you can record it, put it behind a paid wall, or put it behind like a lead funnel so someone can then opt in to get this information. So you can use that as a lead magnet. So these are the primary stuff right off the bat. Now we're going to really dive into some of these sub modules. And the one that I always start with is essentially transcriptions, because I think they're underrated. I think most people, they understand audio to a certain extent. They may understand RSS feeds, they may understand clips, they may understand live streams, but they're not doing themselves essentially a due diligence by stretching out the capabilities of creating content from transcriptions. So if you click on that, right, you can kind of see quotes, right? Every single time you do an interview podcast, or you may say a tagline, you may say a hook, essentially those are quotes. So you have quotes, right? Then you also have SOPs. You may have a company and you may record content. You may be talking about the steps and procedures of what you're doing in your company. Well, again, you're doing it via video, and then you have a transcription of that video. So then you can kind of use that as a document, as an SOP. Again, if you're doing a topic like we're talking about this 13, there's really 113 different ways of using video right now. I could easily take the transcription of this and turn it into a blog post. I could turn it into this presentation that you're seeing right now. And then another thing that people don't realize is taking multiple different video clips, transcribing them and turning them into books. And then obviously, if you're doing a podcast, your transcriptions from the actual podcast can be part of your show notes. But then we're going to go even deeper down another level, right? So let's talk about quotes. So from quotes, obviously, you can do direct tweets. That's another opportunity to kind of have more content from a video, transcription, a quote, tweet. Then you could also do merchandising. And I think people, they don't realize that, but obviously if you look at most merchandising in today's world, as far as t-shirts, hats, they're essentially coming from quotes or statements or some clip from some video or a clip from some movie or TV show. And again, if you're not thinking outside the box, you're missing this opportunity. So if we dive down into merchandising, that's when you can kind of get into t-shirts, bags, stickers, coffee mugs, hoodies. And again, all of this is coming from that one primary video. If we dive even deeper than that, now we're talking about RSS feeds. And again, if you know anything about RSS feeds is your best friend. And with video, if you're using YouTube, YouTube has an RSS feed, and we'll talk about how to syndicate that and use that as we go through these other dots. But right now, if I'm talking about using this content of quotes to create merchandising, any environment that you're creating the merchandising in could then also become an RSS feed. In this case, Shopify. So in the Shopify feed, I could easily then say, hey, every time I create a new product, that product is coming from the video, that video is transcribed, that transcription then turns into a quote, that quote turns into an image, that image turns into a t-shirt. I put that t-shirt on Shopify. And then once that RSS feed gets that new t-shirt, it would automatically syndicate to all these different platforms. And again, you're talking about YouTube merch as a shelf. If you're not familiar with that, YouTube, if you become a paid partner, you also have opportunity to put merchandising on that YouTube storefront as well. Pinterest kind of goes without saying, Instagram goes without saying, Twitter goes without saying, Facebook, LinkedIn. And another platform that you may not have heard of, or you have heard of it, goes back into KDP. You're talking about book publication, right? That also receives RSS feeds as well. So if I'm creating this RSS feed for my new products and I'm an author, then it only makes sense that RSS feed for my new product should show up in association to my books. And that's where Author Central will come in. So again, we've only went through one line, right? We've only went through quotes. And you can kind of see how easily this can expand to hundreds, if probably not even several hundreds. Let's look at blogs, for example, right? Earlier on, before we started recording, we were talking about SEO. Well, obviously, if you're doing content like this, and I'm saying the keyword of video and video marketing, video strategy, and I'm having a general conversation, and I'm saying all these random keywords, well, a transcription of that would be hella useful for SEO because, again, all the keywords are already there inside the copy from the video. You don't really have to process it. You just have to transcribe it, clean it up, run it through Grammarly, and you can use that as a blog post. For every video, you should have a blog post. For every episode, you should have show notes, so forth and so forth. So you kind of see how the compounding effect becomes from one video clip into hundreds of pieces of elements that you can use for your marketing strategy. Let's go back up. So presentation, easy. From there, I can take this and I can easily turn this video with this presentation, with the transcription, with the audio file, with a downloadable PDF, and now I have a course. I could easily turn this into a course outline. And again, all of this is coming from the primary first video, and you cut that video up into segments, which we'll talk about clips and how to also utilize those clips on multiple different platforms as well. Books. So if you're familiar with nonfiction books, they're easy to make, again, because again, you're taking these video clips. Imagine you creating an outline. You create 5 episodes in a podcast to talk about that particular topic. In this case, we're talking about video podcasting. We transcript all of those things. We make an outline. Then from that outline, we create a nonfiction book. We could easily then say, okay, for every chapter, what's a question? What's an actionable takeaway? And turn that into a workbook. And if you're familiar with PLRs, which is private label right management, that I can create this content and then resell it to someone else for them to repurpose. So again, I'm creating 3 pieces of content, all from the transcriptions, in the book world. Let me go back out. So far, the only thing we touched on out of these 6 is transcripts. Like literally all of that just came from just getting the copy converted from the video audio. So let's dive into like RSS feeds for a second. And again, all this RSS feeds, it can kind of go to all these different platforms. What I think people don't realize is that it's not one piece of content that you're going to be able to deliver. Prime example with Facebook, you have multiple different ways of delivering that one piece of video content. Yes, you could deliver it to Facebook, or you could deliver it to a Facebook group. You could deliver it to a Facebook page, and you could also deliver it to your Facebook personal page. Now, I use this strategy all day, every day, because again, I have multiple different pages, I have multiple different groups, and I have a personal page. So when I do like a live stream, or if I'm doing an RSS syndication for my YouTube channel, every time content is put on that platform, I may end up with like 9 pieces of that video being shared on multiple different platforms, literally in seconds, because again, I'm not posting it. The RSS feed is posting it for me. Let's look at Instagram. So Instagram is I would say the sister of Facebook, and it's the same thing here too, right? Again, you always think about Instagram, you may think about the feed, but you have to understand that there's 3 different things in Instagram. There's a feed, there's a story, and there's a reel. So you could take this one video clip and you could reformat it, right? You could put it on the feed as it is, or you could reformat it more so as a story, more vertical, or you could then take that same story and then convert it into a reel. And again, these are essentially 3 separate pieces of content, and the algorithm is going to work differently based upon when that is injected into Instagram versus if you just upload directly into Instagram. All right, we're looking good on time, right? All right, let's go into audio. So audio, obviously video and audio go together hand in hand, but this is a way for you to kind of really think about how many other products could you get from that one piece of audio. All right, so we have audiograms, we have audio books, which goes hand in hand with your physical books, right? So if you're wanting to kind of get on ACX, which is the platform that Amazon uses to create audiobooks, you can easily then subtract that content and then create an audiobook from it. Then you also have Spotify ads, which are essentially audio ads. So you can kind of literally take an episode like this, take a snippet of it, put an extra couple call of actions to this, and turn it into an ad spot. And then obviously your regular audio from your video could turn into an audio-based podcast. And if you're not familiar with asynchronistic recordings or asynchronistic podcasting recording, it's a new up and coming thing that's been around for forever. Think about it from the standpoint of if I'm in California and your company is in New York and you want to interview me remotely, then you will create a web page or a landing page with multiple different video questions. And then I will respond to those video questions with my own answers. That's where this comes in handy. So when you actually have like separate video clips or separate audio clips, you could upload them and then have someone respond to them. And that's what I'm talking about, asynchronistic recording. So that's a whole nother avenue that I could talk about for hours on that particular topic. But you also want to keep in mind thinking out the box the way you're going to get to this. And again, we're doing more so mind mapping and brainstorming to get these different items. If we dive into podcasting, obviously podcasting then goes back into the feed again. Because again, podcasting essentially is a syndication that runs on an RSS feed. And if I click on that, then we can repurpose all that audio content on all these different platforms in multiple different variables. For example, LinkedIn, I could post it to a LinkedIn group, I could post it to a LinkedIn feed, or I could post it to a LinkedIn page. Let me go back out, go all the way back out. All right, so we covered transcript, we covered audio, we covered RSS feed. Let's talk about live streams. So essentially, these platforms all have live streams, which is essentially different than uploading an audio. It means that, hey, I'm doing something live like we're doing right now on LinkedIn. And if you're on LinkedIn at that point in time, you have an opportunity to watch it as it's happening, as it unfolds. And then obviously, then you could download it and repurpose that information. But again, I think live streams are very useful because again, most live streams, they'll have RSS feeds as well. So you can kind of re-syndicate that as well. A lot of times I'll do an RSS feed to YouTube, and then my YouTube has an RSS feed that's syndicating out to multiple platforms. So think about YouTube. I'm uploading video clips. I'm uploading a live video. I'm also doing live segmentations of my podcast, and I'm also cutting up that video once it's done and re-uploading it on a schedule. So that RSS feed is spitting out content every day, all day, whether I'm alive or not. I have enough content now, and I always say, if I die tomorrow, it'll still be like I'm alive at least for another 6 months of just content that's being produced without me having to do anything. And then let's go into clips, the final step. So clips, you could obviously see we're talking about similar topics that we talked about before, but then you're talking about SOPs. Before we talked about SOPs as far as documents, but we're talking about video SOPs, right? And if you're familiar with Roku channels, well, think about your clips as becoming episodes for a Roku channel. That's a whole nother different platform with millions and millions of people that are using that platform. So again, you can create this one source of video, cut it up, and become a syndication on a TV station of your own doing, and you can have full control over it. If we dive back into YouTube, you can kind of see then YouTube also has other opportunities for these clips. You could do a YouTube short, you can do a YouTube ad from those clips. You can also do a YouTube general feed, and then you could also do a YouTube playlist. And again, all of these have their different variables, and the algorithm works differently for each one of them. But again, all of this information that we're talking about is all stemming from having one central video podcast. So my podcast, for example, we're on season 4. We've produced 140 episodes that we've launched, and behind the scenes, we're backlogged about 400 episodes. For every single episode, literally, I would say about 80% of what I'm showing you is what content that we're creating on demand. So again, if you times that 80 by 150 episodes or times it by 400, you can see how easily content can be created and repurposed and re-syndicated again and again and again and again. And then if you start putting in automations into that, one of the automations that I have is essentially an RSS feed automation that will say, hey, every 6 months, post that post again. So essentially, technically speaking, if you keep feeding the beast, it'll keep on regenerating that information over and over and over again. And every 6 months, your audience should be growing. So if someone new comes in 6 months later, they'll be able to see content that they've never seen before. And again, you can step and repeat that as you add more content into it. Then you go from doing 1 post a day, 2 posts a day, 3 posts a day, 5 posts a day, and it keeps scaling forever. So hopefully I didn't overwhelm you guys with all this inside information, and you can easily see how it can look like. And I'll show you what it visually looks like. This is all, again, we're way past 113 right now, but visually, this is the representation of all the things that we can create from one piece of content, one video. And again, that video doesn't have to be 3 hours long. You're talking about 20 minutes to even an hour long, and you can get all these different elements from that one piece of content. Any questions?
Very, very cool. Thank you, S.A. Yeah, if you have questions, just go ahead. If you're in the meeting, raise your hand. If you're watching on live stream, you can drop it in the chat, and I'll try to keep an eye on it. Go for it, Bernie. Oh, you're muted, Bernie.
You have 113. Hi, how do you track? You have 113 different angles of approach. How do you get your feedback loop going? Yeah, that's working. Either you're going to tweak the content for a specific path, which might mean a specific audience, although it's all stemming from the one product or the one event.
You do one product really, really well. So for example, our podcast right now is ranked 0.5 globally. Our downloads are some, like last month we had about 18,000 to 19,000 downloads. So I know that the content for the podcast is sound. It's just a matter of where my audience may find the podcast. Okay. Obviously, people listen to audio, they may watch video. So as long as the core content is solid, then all the rest of this is automation. All the rest is syndication. Yeah. So I'm not really concerned about the pros and cons. I'm creating the good content and I'm chopping it up and spreading out the wealth.
So, but how do you track the success? In other words, and again, you have 113 pieces out there. How do you loop back the information? This is going well in this one area, and it's meeting that audience. Content's good, so I got that part, but.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all these platforms that we're talking about all have analytic data behind the scenes. It really comes down to what you want to do. I'm not saying that you have to do all this. I'm saying that we do it. So ideally, there's platforms in place to where I can go into it and say, okay, what's going on Facebook and what's going on Amazon and what's going on Instagram, or you could hire people to maintain it. But for me, again, I'm going based upon the premise that my core content is my main focus, and this is just distribution. Every once in a while, I'll pick a platform and then we'll work on that platform. Like recently, we just got monetized on YouTube because I started focusing more on YouTube and refining it for YouTube. And then when YouTube is done, then I'll probably focus on TikTok and make sure all the content is tweaked for TikTok and then move through each one of the platforms. But once you have them tweaked and systematized, then all you have to do is just kind of keep a soft touch to make sure that your levels are not dropping.
So do you have a dashboard that aggregates all the information then? That's my last question.
No, because I'm spitting out all the information, so I'm controlling it from the front end. So I don't really need to have a dashboard unless I really want to go. I say pick one platform and focus on it. If you try to get a dashboard to focus on all of these things, you're gonna have you're gonna catch a stroke.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like more a trust the system type process, right? You know, you're creating good stuff, you know, you're getting it out there. So the feedback loop is less important, maybe, right? You know, your audience is growing, so you just kind of keep rolling with it versus getting into the weeds about this stat or that stat, right?
No, you got to take them one at a time. So I always say that's why I kind of broke it down to this visual, so you can kind of see a slice. I would pick one. My primary was, before I even did video, I did audio. So out of all these things, my audio side was built out. And all this, and then from there, I just made one step back and I went to video. And then from video, I was like, well, hell, I got all this additional information from that video content. I need to go down another leg. So I took one leg at a time until I got to the point to where I am.
That's
Perfect.
very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. How long did it take you to build out such a robust kind of structure?
My podcast launched February of 2020. The first year, it was just more so just me harnessing the craft of hosting. Year 2 was more so kind of like, okay, like what am I going to do? So I would say in probably the last 9 to 12 months is when all of this kind of came to fruition.
Very cool. Any other questions from folks in the meeting here? Let's bring up a lot of info. So anybody, specific spots, otherwise I can jump into a few of my own comments and questions. Going once, going twice. All right. Oh, wait, somebody's got their hand up. Bernard, go for it.
Yeah, sorry. Really enjoyed the presentation, and indeed it's quite overwhelming. But my question right now is, how many people do you have working at the moment on the back end? Because I loved it, and I'm gonna ask Neil for the recording so that I can take notes, because I really loved the presentation, and I would like to dig deeper into that one channel first. Dominate one channel and then spread. But I really loved it, man. It's like you just made my day.
I definitely appreciate that. So to answer your question, I have a dual system, right? I always try to hire someone when I cannot automate it. So right now in my team, and again, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I run an agency. So think about what I'm about to tell you. The number is not necessarily a number that you need to have unless you're doing all the things that I'm doing. So on my staff of team, I have essentially 15 core VAs that are diversified based upon all the different principles that I'm in. But ideally, you can do it with 1 to 2. And I'm saying that because, again, the most important thing about this presentation I want everyone to hold on to, the RSS feed is your friend.
Yeah. See, and that's one last question, Neil, is right now I'm struggling with systematizing those things, because yes, I have video, I have good content, and it is a pain in the butt. Publish in YouTube, publish on bum. So it takes up a lot of time. And if there's a way to automatize that.
There definitely is. I mean, prime example, the first thing that I always look for in any new platform that I'm going to utilize is the RSS feed. So again, I went into Shopify and I did a random Google search. Hey, does Shopify have an RSS feed? I didn't know it had one. I was just like, it looks like it should. And then sure as hell, there was an RSS feed. And I was like the light bulb went off. And I was like, well, let me try YouTube. Did the same thing. YouTube had an RSS feed. So I was like, okay, well, now that I know what an RSS feed and how to utilize it, the only thing you need at that point in time is a platform. You can use anything from Hootsuite. We use Social Bee, Publer, and all these different platforms. They'll take that RSS feed and then distribute it on multiple platforms. And that's the secret. Once you figure out your content, and if it has an RSS feed, then where can someone accept the RSS feed? And once you do that, then you don't have to worry about what we're talking about. You'll be able to take out 80% of what we're doing right now just through your RSS feed by default.
Cool, because that's my next step, and I'm done, Neil, because I bought a license for one of those distributing publishing automation software, but I didn't look into it because first I had to understand where I want to go.
Yeah,
Always
the
start with RSS feed.
yeah, RSS feed is great, and at least my experience when I started looking for it on YouTube, and I don't know, you could tell me on Spotify, but sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes there's a trick to it where you have to like take part of a URL or something, and that's how it was on YouTube. But it's doable, and it helps automate a lot of that posting and stuff if you want to go that route. So yeah, that's great advice. RSS feed can still be very powerful, even though it's it's not as talked about as it was in blog post days, right? Oh, Marla, you put a question. Yeah, you can. The recording will be sent to everybody who RSVP'd to this meeting, and outside of that, there will be a live stream on my personal LinkedIn where you'll be able to pick it up as well. All right. Any other questions from folks? Don't have any live.
And I don't want you to think there's no wrong question. So if you have a question in your mind, I mean, this is the opportunity to ask it, because again, somebody else may have the same question.
Anybody? All right, I'm going to get in with one then. The Roku channels, SA. Have you played with them at all?
Yeah, I had a couple deals on the table to kind of build that stuff out for clients before. So I've done like the research behind the scenes. It's not bad. I think it's somewhere, they may have changed it. I think it was like 20 hours worth of content, which again, like the numbers that I told you before, we have over 100 episodes. Each one of our episodes is an hour long. So we're well into like 500 hours of content. So technically speaking, if I wanted to chop up our content into like smaller sections, we could easily have a channel and build it out. So it's something that you want to look into, because again, you're talking about a million of different people. And then what you can do on your pages is say, hey, go to your Roku channel and go to that channel. And it's also a thing that I didn't even put in here that just popped into my mind was like Amazon devices, Google devices. That's a whole nother stream of content that you can kind of go into those devices as well using one.
Yeah, those channels I find really kind of fascinating, right? Like I personally will watch This Old House on their like internet channel, and like you always, instead of, if you're in TV surfing mode, there's always an episode on, right? So like that's an interesting idea for for somebody's content like that, or smaller media outlets or individual companies using that type of format. I think that's very cool.
There's nothing more than a YouTube playlist, right? I mean, if you really think about the principles behind it, it's just a YouTube playlist on a different format.
Right. Yeah, one that you can use your remote to get to, which might really appeal to different demographics than the folks who are watching the YouTube playlist. So right on. Any other questions from anybody or comments?
I'll fire up. So on each of these streams, then you can monetize it based on it coming back as like a sales funnel. Do they offer any hooks inside their in Instagram or at the TikTok where you can actually do a store transaction of sorts, or does it always have to feed back to Amazon or Shopify?
Nope. So prime example is a lot of these programs talk to each other, and that's when we even talk into API integrations, right? We just talk about RSS feeds, but with the API integrations, prime example, with a YouTube partner program, now they have 3 vendors, and one of the vendors is Shopify. So you could exactly plug in your Shopify account directly to your YouTube channel. So you'll have a video, you'll have your playlist, and then you'll have a storefront with all your actual products. So when somebody clicks on it and converts, it'll convert on YouTube, but the processing is happening on Shopify. So again, once you find these systems, they'll all talk to each other. You just need to make sure that like they can talk to each other to begin with. Instagram is another one. Instagram, I can post something on an Instagram story, and I could have this hat on, and because my Shopify store is connected directly to Instagram, then I can say, hey, I have not only a person in this picture, but I have a product in this picture, and it'll give me like a little dot. So when somebody sees that feed, they can click on that dot, they'll see the product, and they can hit buy now on Instagram. But again, the processing is going to be converted through Shopify, but you don't have to leave Instagram to make the purchase.
Oh, even better, much better.
And that's just two of them. I mean, there's so many different. Facebook does it as well too. I don't think LinkedIn has got on the bandwagon as of yet. Pinterest does it.
It's coming soon then, right?
Yeah, definitely.
As LinkedIn likes to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Any let me, oh, looks like we got something in chat here. Oh yeah, and Andy brings up what I was actually going to touch on. He had a similar thought to the Roku suggestion as a Twitch channel that just kind of ran continuously. Have you ever played with anything there?
Yeah, so Twitch should be here somewhere. I think it's probably
It's in the stack, maybe.
potentially it's somewhere in here. Yeah, Twitch is definitely in here. I've put it in here 3 or 4 different places. So I mean, Twitch is great, and Twitch target audience is younger kids. So again, my content is more so driven towards adults and business owners. I
Mhm.
do have a pitch channel. I do have a Twitch channel, and it's automatically streamed. So once I stream, I'm streaming content there. But to your other question that they asked earlier, am I monitoring it? No, I don't. I mean, again, my audience is not there yet. Eventually, maybe they will be, but by the time we both catch up to each other, I'll have a complete history of content that's been on Twitch for years without even knowing about it until the time that I need to kind of reference it.
Very cool. All right. Any last questions, folks? Any other things pop up? I've got more if we don't have any coming from the group here. All right,
Are there other things other than Roku? Sorry.
go
Are
for
there
it.
other platforms other than Roku? There's a lady out down in Australia. She does a piece on a TV platform. I tried looking it up, but I just couldn't find it in time. So are there any other elements like Roku where you're having that?
Yeah, so there's Tubi, there's like literally if you have Apple TV, that's an opportunity as well too. It's like these third-party vendors, and a lot of them are being bought up. Like Tubi, I think was bought by Sony. So again, what you want to do is if you have a Amazon Fire Stick or if you have a Apple TV, you can add more programs onto them. So what you could do is go in there and search through the content, and you'll see a whole series of things that we're talking about that most people don't know about until somebody says go and add it to their Roku stick or add it to their actual Apple TV. There's dozens.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, man.
What you got, Neil?
Okay. Let's see. So yeah, you're getting a lot of compliments in the chat. We'll just start there. So well done, S.A. Let's see. So here's one and I'll put you on the spot with this. If you had to pick just a couple, say 3 or 4 places for that main video podcast to go, what would be your top ones for the person who's just starting a process like this?
So for me, I would definitely say YouTube, just because YouTube's reach is closing in on 2 billion. Secondary to that, I would say is TikTok, but they're both comparable to each other, but for different reasons, right? And then last but not least, if you want to get into like video SOPs, I would say something along the lines. Because for me, like I have 15 VAs, and a lot of times I'm creating content like this on demand. Like literally today, I sent my guy asynchronistic recording video because I'm getting ready to start doing podcasting that way. And so I had to record content, show him the link and all that stuff. So I'm recording this information, but I'm creating a database of education for my team that allows me to not have to repeat myself over and over again.
I've recently gone through that process, right? Like trying to get somebody onboarded in a VA type space. And it makes you, dot all your I's, cross all your T's, like make some videos, make some screenshots. And I think it's a learning experience on both sides that is really invaluable. And sure, Barb would have lots to say on that too. It's such an important part if you want to grow as like a smaller business to be able to hand off certain tasks like that and so on.
Yep. And then
So
you can
very
reuse
cool.
that content for courses as well too. I mean, there's so many different things you can do with that. You can kind of, hey, I'm educating and I'm talking to them in general, and then you can take clips of that piece of those videos and then put that into a course or into a webinar and kind of educate people and then have them pay for it as well.
Right on. Yeah, that is Yeah, that's a less considered route. That's incredible. Once you make the educational content, you've got a couple different outlets for it. So very good. I'm going to go one last time, see if anybody's got questions. Otherwise, we can kind of shut it down here. If anybody who doesn't want to be on video, we will have a few minutes before the 1 o'clock hour. Then maybe you could pop your question into S.A here. So last call. Anybody have one? Use the little hand raise or pop it in the chat. No? Okay, cool. In that case, I am going to jump into the closing remarks here. And yeah, here we go. So thank you all who have joined us via live stream, and thank you very much to everybody who took the time to join us here in meeting. To all of you, again, don't miss the video podcast, The Everlasting Gobstopper of Content presentation, which is on 2 weeks from today on November 17th. I'll show you step by step how you can easily and efficiently break down your video podcast into much fewer than 113 applications. But that is at events.vidwheel.com. And with that, have a good afternoon and goodbye to all of you on the live stream.